My name is Dr. Marsalee Forrestar. I'm a chiropractor who went into training. I've been in training with shamanism for 20 years. And I had a near-death experience through the journey, as well as having a near-death experience when I was younger, when I was in my 20s. And the similarity is profound. The reality is profound. The reality of being there and in the shamanic journey for me is profound. It's real. It's right now. It's one of the pieces of information that I got is what is next has nothing to do with now. And with the shamanic journey, you're given a direct intention of where you're going and what you're doing. With the near-death experience, you don't know what's going to happen, so there's no intention. So it's much more free-flowing and abstract, and in the sense that experiences are so different from one person to the other, and where they go, what they see, how they come back, whether they flatlined or whether they haven't. I have found that they don't need to have a near-death or a death experience, an actual dying time experience, in order to have a near-death experience. And a lot of those are called spiritually transformative experiences, STEs. And I've had several of those. I remember my birth. I was floating on the ceiling. I remember other aspects of my life that were very much like the shamanic journey. I feel like my whole life has been a shamanic journey, a near-death experience. In fact, my mother had 2 children before me that died. And so she was afraid when I was in utero. And all of that was absorbed into me, and I've had this fascination with death. Not in a morose or weird way, but in a way that has always led me to the next step, not knowing that I'd had these experiences before until I started talking to the people in Ions and listening to other people's stories, and it was like, oh, that's what happened.
Yeah. So can you tell us about your shamanic journey?
Unfortunately, I cannot.
Oh, you cannot?
I cannot talk about the journey itself.
Okay.
No.
Why not?
It's part of the ritual and part of the initiation process that we went through. And that's part of the agreement I made. I studied with the Foundation for Shamanic Studies and Michael Harner.
Yeah.
And that was one of the agreements we made, that we would not discuss certain aspects of our training and rituals and initiations.
Yeah. Okay.
And this happens to be one of them, unfortunately. Okay. I can talk about the first one I had when I was younger.
Sure.
I ticked off a boyfriend because I'd broken up with him. And he got very, very upset, pinned me up against a wall and was strangling me. And this is the one I didn't know about until much later, when someone else was telling me about theirs. And I was in a position where I was up in the ceiling again and looking down and watching my children come out of a bedroom, and I would not have been able to see them from the position he had me in up against the wall. And I saw them come out, and I felt this enormous peace just floating. And I said, am I dying? And I was told no, and in that moment he dropped me, put me down on the floor, and that was the end of it. It was very simple. That's why I think I missed it, and near-death experiences weren't anything that were known. This was like 1968.
So it was an out-of-body experience?
I believe it was a near-death experience because of the peace that was involved. I've had an out-of-body experience too, where I actually generated it, and it was very different. The out-of-body experience for me was, we were told to go someplace we wanted to see, or see what was going on. And I wanted to go see where my children were because they were being taken care of a babysitter. And there I was, again, I seemed to go for the ceiling. I was on the ceiling looking down at them, and they were playing on the floor. They were playing some kind of a game on the floor, very, very intentionally directed. And then I came back, and that was the end of it. But there wasn't this feeling of peace. There wasn't this feeling of absolute joy. There wasn't the feeling of the love. One of the experiences I had with loving was, I was at a waterfall. Long story short, I fell backwards. I knew that I should not turn around, because of my chiropractic background, it makes things worse if you twist. So I just let go. I totally surrendered. And I went back and landed on the ground, bounced a few times, but I could feel my hair going by my face, my clothes moving on my body, and my head when I hit my body on the ground and bouncing. But there, I was supported. I felt someone carrying me down to the ground, and I was totally supported in that. And the love that the earth gave me when I came to touch it was profound.
Right. How has it been being at the IONS conference here? How has that helped you to put your experiences into perspective?
I think my experiences were already in perspective before I came here. What I've decided to do is the healing sessions, and I think I've seen one person talk. That's my commitment, is to serve this time, and I feel that's really important for me to serve and get the idea of what it means to give back and gratitude.
Yeah. How have your experiences helped you as a healer?
Oh, they totally changed my life. After my first near-death experience, somehow I was moved to be a part of a metaphysical society outside of Detroit. And within a few years, I seemed to be moved up to northern Michigan. I look back on it, it's all these synchronistic events. Then I was introduced to chiropractic and that aspect of healing. When I found out about shamanism and took the training, when I came back from that first experience with that, I knew that's what that's what I was here for. And I think it makes a great difference in the type of healing that I do.
Right. Okay, Dr. Marsalee, thank you so much for sharing.
Sure.